Hello, my name is Bob. Welcome to a short stop on pool. This week's rack of the week is a real good example of what you'd want to be kind of a typical rack if you're going to accomplish a long run, and that is you get the balls pretty well open real early, and the idea is to just group the balls into priorities to make it easy to make decisions on what order to run them in. It takes a lot longer to explain this with words than it does when you're standing over the rack thinking about it. So to that end, I think this rack is a real good example of how to evaluate those priorities and then group the balls as you're deciding what order to run them in. And again, I'm shooting on the head rail end of the table because that's where I can set up my camera is closer to the ball so you can get a better view. So let's get into the rack. To start the rack, I've got an inside angle on this break shot. Notice it's a slight inside angle. The parallel line is here. Just that little bit gives you a lot of energy into the rack, and you can tell by how far the ball's spread. The other thing that's interesting, you'll notice this in Jason Shaw's run at Legends Billiards, because he shot this inside angle break shot all the time. And the cue ball goes to the bottom rail, and then it'll either go straight up table or brush the side rail. And very often the cue ball hits a ball, but your cue ball is going to end up stopped in this area. So you're going to be looking for a shot in this corner pocket, or this side pocket most often. Sometimes you'll have a shot over into this corner pocket. But occasionally what happened to me is what happens. The cue ball doesn't hit anything and it goes all the way up table. In fact, this is exactly how Jason Shaw's 714 ball run ended. Now, often you're going to be in a tough spot. Sometimes you'll get fortunate and then the ball will be stopped up here and you'll have an easy shot. But more than likely, you're going to have a long shot to begin your run, and that's the case here. I decide to pocket the 12 rather than this 13. I think it's easier to cut a ball than to try and make a long straight. The disadvantage here is I have no control over the cue ball. I'm hoping the cue ball's going to hit something and stay down table, which is the case, and even make 2 bonus balls on that shot. But this allows you to do nothing but focus on pocketing the ball. There was no position being played. I just played a center ball hit, and I'm aiming the ball into the pocket. So 100% of your concentration goes into pocketing the ball. It's not divided. You're not trying to draw the ball or do something else with the cue ball. It's just pocket the ball. And I think that makes your chances of pocketing the ball and continuing the run a lot higher. You'll notice I went immediately afterwards to the 5 ball. And the reason why is my only other reasonable shot would be 11. And that's wide open in the middle of the table, often balls into the side pockets, can be key balls later in the rack, and I've got just a little bit of congestion here, so I want to deal with this part of the table. So there's no advantage to pocketing the 11, you're just shooting off a soldier with no value. Probably I've identified right away that this is the best break ball. This 9 ball might also be functional as a break ball. It's very close to the rack, so it can be a little bit tricky. I think the 2 ball is preferable. So for that reason, it's just a natural to just go right to this 5 ball, and I want to get rid of the 7. Another reason is, whenever you have a break ball, usually your side of the rack break balls, any ball that is between that break ball and the pocket, so that is in this zone, it's kind of a dead ball. It's trouble. So I've got 3 balls that are in that zone. This 10, the 3, and the 7. Those balls are what you want to get rid of immediately. I really don't have much else in the way of trouble balls. That opening shot that I made after the break shot opened everything up. I do have rail balls. I've got 4 of them, the 13, the 10, the 12, and the 3. So those are the only thing that you might consider to be a trouble ball. This one's probably the hardest to get on, but even as far as that goes, not that all that difficult. So getting rid of these balls that are blocking my break shot, that's the priority. It's really difficult to use these balls to maneuver around and get back into position to run the rest of the table. So you want to address those first. That's what I'm doing here. So shoot the 5 and get on the 7. Now from this point, my inclination is to shoot the 7 and probably to go to the rail and bump the 12. The reason is if you go to the rail first, your cue ball is going to stop. So there you are, you have a shot on your 3. That's good. Bumping the 12 ball pushes it this way, and it's a very good chance that that could become a great key ball for the 2. You're getting it off the rail and possibly out in front of the side pocket. Even if it only stops here, you can still use it up into the side or get a shot into the corner as a key ball for your 2 ball. So that's good straight pool. But a thought occurred to me, and probably because of all the straight pool I've been watching on Facebook lately at Legends, especially with Jason Shaw. What occurred to me is, why don't I instead improve the 2 ball as a break shot? Now the 2 ball is also already very high. You can see it's even with this second diamond or the top of the rack. So what I don't want to do is go to the rail and then come at the 2 ball, because that's going to push the 2 ball up and it'll become unusable as a break shot. So what I need to do is get the cue ball to go to the rail, higher on the rail, and then not hit the 12. Now my cue ball is coming at the 2, and I have a much better chance of knocking it over this way. And I don't need to knock it very far. I don't need to hit it very hard. I don't want the cue ball to go flying up table if I hit it too thin and the cue ball flies up this way. This is just a really gentle shot. And I'm just controlling the angle, no side English, just a little bit lower on the cue ball, and just gently tap the 2 ball over. Now that 2 ball only moved 4 or 5 inches, but it's a dramatically better break ball than what it was. So mission 1 accomplished. Obviously my very next shot is the 3 ball. As I said, I'm clearing this quadrant below the break ball. But what do I want to do next? You see me go for the bridge. Even the tall people use a bridge now and then, and I've got a video coming out very soon. It talks about cue length and stance for tall players. Now you notice I had 2 options. I could have gone forward, and I think that's kind of taking me to no man's land, which is why I just bounced the cue ball out and brought it out to center table. From there, I've got numerous shots to choose from. And so I'm thinking about the pattern. What do I want to do from here? And I've actually got this mostly worked out already. You can see I stood over that shot for what, 2 to 3 seconds? It didn't take very long. But I'm going to give a little bit of an explanation here, and it ends up being kind of long-winded. But it takes so much longer to talk about it and explain it than it does to actually just look at the table and see it. So I'm in my end pattern, and you always work on your end pattern from the end forward. Let's remember that there's a ball right here underneath my hand. So this ball could possibly be a key ball for my break shot. The 2 ball's the break shot. I'm abandoning the 9 in the hope of using the 9. So I'm committing to the 2. It would be much better if this ball was over here. That would be ideal, but it's not, it's here. So you have to ask yourself, working backwards, what is the best key K2 ball to get on the key ball? And that could be this ball. Because if you get any kind of a straight shot or somewhat straight on this ball, you're right there on your key ball into the side pocket. And the way to identify those is always look diagonally. So if I'm pocketing this key ball in this pocket, diagonally from that is this direction. Boom, there's your K2 ball. Pretty simple. But also, remember I've got a ball here. Diagonally from this corner pocket, boom, there you are. So this ball on the rail could also be a key ball. It's also not the end of the world, or I'm sorry, a K2 ball. It's also not the end of the world to use this ball as the key ball and bounce off the rail. It's not my preferred shot. Sometimes it can be tricky to get just the right angle on your break shot, but it's very workable, as is this ball. So either of these balls on the rail, which we normally identify as trouble balls, could be key balls for each other to get on the break shot. So I've got a really good triumvirate. These 3 balls can be usable in numerous ways. Because I identify that immediately, that means I need to shoot these other balls off the table first. And then I'm going to want to get my cue ball position inside this triangle and probably close to the rail for one of these 2 balls. That said, I'm going to go to the 9 ball next, and I have a slight angle on the 9 ball into the corner such that my cue ball moves this way. So I want to bring the cue ball over here to shoot the 13. There are numerous ways from the 13 notice that I've got 4 balls to remove, and I just removed 2 of them. I'm going to shoot the 9, and I'm going to shoot this next. So there's only 2 balls left, even though there's 7 balls on the table. So now I only have to plan for these 2 balls. And there's so many different ways. I could bounce off the rail from the 13, shoot the 1 up in this corner, and get a little angle on the 4 to bounce off the rail. And there I am on this ball, on the rail. Or if I have less of an angle, I could draw the cue ball straight this way, and I'm into that zone that I need to be in. Also, depending on the angle I get on the 13, I could bring the cue ball closer to center table. Because the 4 ball is a key ball for the 1 as a K2. Not for the break shot, I'm just talking about in the order of shooting these. In other words, from this position, that's an easy shot on the 1 on the side. So instead of using the 1 to set up for the 4, I could use the 4 to set up for the 1, and then I'd be able to make sure to get very straight in on the 1 and draw my cue ball back over here into that zone. So that's the thought process that I saw in my mind in those 2 or 3 seconds that I was standing over the shot. These 3 balls are the end of the end pattern. These 4 are the beginning. Eliminate these 2 balls first and use the up table balls to get back into the triangle. So here's position on the 13, and rather than trying to float over, I went to the rail. Almost always it's wisest to go to the rail that's close to your position zone and bounce off. That's how you get the right angle. Now, I've got too much angle on the 1 ball here. So that makes it a much higher percentage play to shoot the 4 ball and get on the 1. Had my cue ball stopped here, I'm sure I would be shooting the 1 and then the 4. So this means that I'm committing to this angle that is nearly straight on the 1 so that I can draw back over and get inside of my triangle. And now I'm making a real clear, firm decision. I'm aiming for the rail, halfway between these balls. I can shoot either ball. I can go either way. And as you can see, I got real close to the target. And since I did, I prefer using the 11 ball as a key ball into the side pocket. There's a larger margin for error getting this position on the 11 in the side than using the other stripe to get position on the 11 in the corner. And I've checked my angle real quickly. It's a simple matter, but it's extremely important. What I'm saying is straight into the side from the 11 is here. So the worst thing I can do is end up on the high side of that line. Now I can't get position on my break ball. If I'm on that line or below it, it's very simple to do a little pinch draw and just boop, bring my cue ball right over here and I'm on the break shot. So now I'm nearly straight in, so I'm not going to be able to come very far above this line, but you can see me looking right now. I'm pointing my cue. Where do I want this break shot? The parallel angle on this break shot the parallel line is here, so I want to be on this line or just inside of it. That would be ideal. I don't want to be way over here. That would be a Jason Shaw style back cut break shot. And I definitely don't want to be on this side of the line where I have a slight angle and have to power it. So it's very important. It only takes a split second. Make sure you get the right angle on your break shot. Okay, and I did exactly what I said you shouldn't do. The parallel line's here and I'm inside of it. So what that means is for the break shot into the next rack, I've got to muscle it. If the cue ball was here, it would have been ideal and I could have used a medium hard stroke with a high cue ball. And that would have been an ideal break shot. With the cue ball where it is, I've got to muscle it and I can't use a high ball. Well, you could, but you're taking more of a risk of sliding off the corner of the rack into the corner pocket. So now I'm going to use a low ball to try and stun the cue ball off the rack. The cue ball is going to pick up a lot of outside English on this shot because you're hitting it so hard. That's what you can see. The cue ball, actually I had a little bit of a center ball. The cue ball backed up and then hit that corner ball, then went to the side rail, and it had all that spin on it that brought it down here. That's not an ideal break shot, but I do have a combination that's pretty easy, and I'm able to continue the run and make it through the next rack as well. I hope you found that informative, entertaining, and helpful. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. Head over to SatoriFlatRack.com and check out the promo video for my new and unique pool ball rack. And of course, ShortstopOnPool.com for my book, A Shortstop on Straight Pool. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time at Shortstop on Pool.